Midweek Murders contains graphic and explicit content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello.
Bon ciao.
But it sounded like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards.
Haven't seen it.
No, it just sounded super American saying bonjour.
I thought that the password for this meeting was cum20.
Come 20. Slogan for the year, isn't it? When I tried to log out, they were like, how satisfied are you with your experience today? I was like, 0 doesn't exist, so I'm going to take a 1.
I left a similar review on the Lego website.
Why?
Like, it was this big secretive release. So they're releasing a new set at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
So their email was like, oh, click on this link and subscribe to our mailing list to be one of the first people to find out what this secret set is. And then lower down, it was like, VIP members can view a video from the actors who played Fred and George Weasley, who do a Q&A with the creators of this kit to test their knowledge on Harry Potter. I was like, yeah, that'll pass 10 minutes. Let's do that. Link didn't work. Couldn't get through it on the VIP section. The pages were really slow. And then as I was scrolling through, just browsing the Lego, pop-up came up and was like, how has your visit been today? I was like, well, all right. Pages are slow. Your hyperlinks don't work. The video's nowhere to be found. You wouldn't let me into the VIP section. You wouldn't let me into my account. Very dissatisfied. How old are you? Over 18?
Of course.
That was the oldest age group. They were like 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 10 to 15, 16 to 18, over 18.
Oh, that's funny.
I've seen a leak of what the set is.
What is it?
Full-scale Diagon Alley. And it looks fucking amazing.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah. So even though the website shit on my face, I'm still going to buy it.
You know why I suggested that we would watch Logan next time we're hanging out?
Because you know that I enjoy a muscular man, and Hugh Jackman buffs up very nicely.
He does. But also because the little girl in that movie is the girl that played the lead role in His Dark Materials.
Oh, the one that you hated. The one that you absolutely abhorred.
I didn't. I just said
The one that you were physically sick watching because her acting was so bad.
You always take whatever I say to the absolute extreme. I
Do you
never
want to know
said...
the word for that?
Yeah, I probably know it. Tell me anyway.
Hyperbolize.
You always hyperbolize. Everything is...
Ooh, hyperbolize. I like that.
Because when I said that was an attractive woman, you were like, you hyped her up so much. You were like, she's a goddess. I was like, never said that. Said she was a
I know, because it's funny to wind you up. If you haven't worked out that that's how our friendship dynamic works by now, then I feel like you haven't been paying attention to any of our conversations.
Do you feel like you can't do all of your funnies because I don't get annoyed?
Sometimes there is not the back and forth banter that I would appreciate if you were getting annoyed. But that doesn't stop me from trying.
You're lucky I don't get annoyed.
No, I am, because otherwise we would not have lasted as long as we have.
Probably.
Most people by now have been like, "You're a cunt. Why do I even talk to you?"
Probably.
Wow. Okay.
You're a funny cunt. Don't get me wrong.
You little shit.
But you do like the inflammatory comments.
I'll inflame your comment.
Come20. Hashtag Come20. Okay, are you ready for the case?
Are we ready to talk about crime?
What do you feel stressed? Do you have
Hey,
like
my
other...
dudes!
Do you have like other things that you need to do?
I've got fuck all going on, mate.
Then why are you stressing me?
Because it's funny.
Is it though?
Yes.
Oh God. You're listening to Midweek Murders. I'm your host, which means wait.
Ah, she fucked it.
What are you doing this week?
Hello, it's a Wednesday, and that means it's time to talk about crime with Midweek Murders. I'm your host, Joe.
And I'm your host, Sandra, but let's do it rapidly this time.
And this week we're coming from Upland Väsby.
We're coming from the Swedish chef.
Herdiger chocolate burst.
You're listening to Midweek Murders, which means that it's time to talk about crime. I'm your host, Sandra.
And I'm your co-host, Joe.
Bye-bye. This week, we're going to talk about the case of the Ice Valley woman, or as it is in Norwegian, the Isdal woman. That means Ice Valley, if you didn't know. I'm here to wow you with my Scandinavian prowess. You're welcome.
My Scandinavian prowess.
And I got my sources from, or my information from Wikipedia. Death in Ice Valley, the podcast by Merritt Hegraff and Neil McCarthy. Sorry, should I say that again?
Yeah, I don't think you managed to get that out in one go.
The podcast Death in Ice Valley by Marit Hegraff and Neil McCarthy. And a video that was from BuzzFeed Unsolved, research by Christopher Hodspeth, Ryan Bergara, and Shane Madej. Bam!
Kablamo.
You have any sauces you wanna share with
Yeah. Also got one from Wikipedia, a BBC article, and also the BuzzFeed video.
Okay, so our case starts on the 29th of November 1970, when a man and his two daughters were out on a hike in an area called Ice Valley, or Isdalen, as I said. As one of the girls noted a smell of burnt flesh, she decided to investigate and found the charred body of a woman laying on her back with her arms up in a boxing position, a common pose in which people who have died in fires are found in. Is this true?
This is actually the first I've heard of it, so no comment.
No comment.
What do we look like? Some kind of pathologist?
Yes? Question mark.
Joke's on you, they're medically trained.
Shocked by what they had stumbled upon, they immediately notified the police. At the crime scene, police noticed several confounding details, such as the labels being cut off the woman's clothing, the woman's back being untouched by the flames, as well as her jewelry and watch having been removed from her body before the fire, but not taken. There was also a fur hat underneath the body which contained traces of petrol. At the autopsy, they discovered 50 to 70 sleeping pills in her stomach, bruising on the right side of her neck and soot in her lungs, indicating that she had been alive whilst on fire. They concluded that the cause of death was a combination of the medication in her system as well as the carbon monoxide poisoning. Is this like, because one of the policemen said that she hadn't swallowed all of the pills? Does that mean that she did have some of the pills in her mouth? Or did
It
she...
probably means that there were more pills found outside of her person, either in a bottle or surrounding area.
Okay. I think he might have meant, because he was Norwegian, he was one of the policemen on the scene. I think he might have meant that it wasn't digested.
Most of them weren't digested. That's how they found them in her stomach.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
So they found 50 to 70 in her stomach, but she could have taken 100.
Okay, so if we're speculating, then most of the pills that she took had not hit her system at the time of death.
Well, we don't know how many she took, but I would assume that they hadn't, because anybody who's taking more than 50 to 70 is crazy.
Did you research the brand Fenamol? I researched it and it said that it was most commonly used nowadays, I guess, as a epilepsy medicine. But back then it could have been probably sleeping pills or anxiety.
So they're phenobarbital, which is a barbiturate. So I would have assumed they were used as a sleeping pill. And I think that's what Fenamol was prescribed as. It's definitely not prescribed in the UK as... I don't think it's prescribed at all in the UK, actually, but I don't know.
Okay. Is it because it has too many side effects, or...?
Usually because barbiturates aren't prescribed in the UK that much anymore. So, for example, the lethal cocktail that they give to people on death row in the US contain barbiturates, which basically just stop your heart rate if it's a high enough dose. So they're usually considered too dangerous.
Okay, that makes sense. This was, as I said, in the 70s, so the rules and the regulations might have been different, because in Scandinavian countries in general, they don't prescribe medicines that can have any kind of dangerous side effects. Like, they're very... Never mind.
Well, yeah, but given that her prescription had been erased from the bottle, there's no way to tell in what country or by what doctor they were prescribed. So given that in Scandinavia they don't prescribe drugs that have a high risk of side effects, it's likely that she didn't get them from there in the first place.
Okay. 3 days after the body had been discovered, 2 suitcases were found by police at the Bergen railway station. And Bergen, I just wanted to tell you, that just literally means mountains.
Very similar to Germany.
Yeah. They could link the suitcases to the body of the woman because of a fingerprint lifted off of a pair of sunglasses found in one of the suitcases. In addition to these sunglasses, they found maps, several different currencies, wigs, a pair of non-prescription glasses, and a notebook with coded notes, I guess, as well as normal things such as clothes and makeup. What was not normal was that it kind of seemed like she had rubbed off the fingerprints of everything else, except for these one pair of sunglasses, which had like a partial fingerprint, and that she had rubbed off like the labels of the cosmetics, so creams and makeup and stuff. She had rubbed off the labels of those, So in the suitcases, I don't know which one, they also found a tube of eczema cream with a prescription label where she had rubbed off the doctor's name and also her own name. The police concluded that the last time the woman had been spotted was a week before her body was found, or 6 days, I think. And she was checking out of a hotel in Norway. The staff at the hotel described the woman as non-talkative with a strange English accent. Like, all of them said that her English wasn't that good, and also with a possible lisp. So they couldn't tell if like her accent was strong because she couldn't really speak English, or if it was because she had a lisp and a noticeable like gap between her two front teeth, which I'm not sure does that cause a lisp? I'm not sure it does.
I don't think it causes a lisp, but it's quite an identifiable feature.
Mm-hmm. So a bellboy at the hotel where she was last spotted asked her where she was from because he found her accent a bit unusual. And she had told him that she was from Belgium. Other things they noted was that she had gold teeth, which was not common in the 1970s in Norway at all, and that she smelled strongly of something, possibly garlic. And this is differing depending on which witness you ask. A lot of people noticed that she had a very pungent smell, which was pungent smell, which was not cohesive with the way that she was dressed. She was a very, very elegant lady, and all of the Norwegians definitely weren't used to people coming to visit as tourists. And when they did, they weren't clad in the like very fashionable clothing, and they did notice her. Everyone noticed her.
I also read somewhere that one of the hoteliers said that she smelt quite distinctly, and it took him like a year to be able to identify that smell as garlic.
Yeah.
And the reason it took him that long was because garlic wasn't very popular in the 70s in Norway.
Like in
I don't know how reputable that is.
In Scandinavia, I would say that people didn't eat much garlic in the 70s. Like nowadays.
Good job you weren't born then.
Because I eat garlic for everything. And I'm not sure that it was garlic, because it was a shoe shop man that said that it was garlic, probably.
Okay, yeah.
But some of the ladies, like some of the hotel staff and maids and stuff like that, said that there was some kind of very strong herbal kind of scent. They weren't sure what it was, but it could have been garlic, or it could have been something else, like a perfume that was very strong, I guess. I don't think they...
Danky.
Yeah. And because she was so well dressed, and all of the people who met her assumed that she had a lot of money, I think they noticed the smell because it was pungent. Or what did you say?
Pungent,
yeah. So it was a very strong smell, and they didn't like it. Nobody liked it. So it was weird. And some people on the internet or on Reddit said that it might have been an eczema cream, like some kind of skin cream that was smelly, rather than garlic or a perfume, because she probably wouldn't have chosen it herself. And also, if you smell that strongly of garlic, you have to eat shit loads of garlic. Like, I eat garlic probably with a meal a day. I don't smell that badly of garlic, I don't think, right?
Not at all, no.
But if you've met me, you wouldn't say that I smelled strongly of garlic, right?
No, totally not.
Stop it! Say it properly for the audience, please.
I think she was a vampire hunter. Case closed.
Yeah.
Got killed by a vampire.
Sure. But no, I think that nobody can eat that much garlic. You know what I mean?
Challenge accepted.
So I don't think it was garlic, but maybe. After that, the police began tracing her movements before her death with the help of her notepad entries that seemed to list dates and places where the Isdal woman had been. And side note, her notepad entries was in a code, but because of her handwriting, they could match her notepad entries with places. Because when they kind of cracked the code, as it were, they noticed that she had been around Norway in a lot of different places. And she had written her name and passport number and everything like that in their check-in forms. Because in the 70s, as a tourist, you had to write your name and passport number and country of birth and stuff like that. With the help of handwriting analysis, they compared her notes in the notebook with check-in forms, and that they concluded that the woman had traveled around Norway in Oslo, Trondheim, Stavanger, and Europe. So some of the places was in Sweden and Paris, etc. During her travels, she had used at least 8 different passports, and she had also used different names at all of the places, stating that she was from Belgium, most commonly, whilst filling out the forms in either German or French. And the woman that did the podcast, Marit, she speaks German fluently, and she said that some of the check-in forms was not grammatically accurate in German. So she probably couldn't speak German fluently. She didn't seem like a native German because she couldn't properly write out an occupation in German, grammatically correct in German.
Didn't the most recent evidence of her teeth show that she grew up in Germany?
No, it showed that she was born in Germany and then moved to either the German-French border.
So she would still know German.
Well, she could have been in a French school.
She was French taught because they
Yeah.
found that from a handwriting analysis.
Yeah, but she didn't seem to be 100% fluent in German. That's what they kind of are guessing from the way that she wrote down her occupation. But eyewitness statements say that they think, which is also like most Norwegian didn't, most people
From the top.
Most people in Norway didn't speak German or French in the 1970s. So they thought that she might have spoken to other people that she met, other men that she was with in different hotels and shops, in either German, French, or Flemish. They're not quite sure. So that's kind of still a mystery, I guess. The police ruled the death a suicide, but many of the Norwegian police say that they find this quite unbelievable, not only because of the location of the body, which was in a hiking trail that is not generally very easy to get to. Like it's a very hard hike. She didn't have the clothes for a hike, and going up there to commit suicide, it's a very hard trek. And also, like, why? You could have committed suicide anywhere, you know? In the podcast, Death in Ice Valley, they kind of allude to the fact that she could have been born before World War II and therefore been able to escape Nazi Germany because of the kinder transport.
Mm-hmm.
So they think that she might have been born before the war, and then before the war broke out, she was moved from her family to another country, maybe. They still don't know. But I would say if she was a spy, which it kind of points towards that because of the notepad with the coded messages and the fact that she didn't put down her real name, she had a lot of different passports, etc., etc. It kind of points to the fact that maybe she was a spy because they couldn't find any record of her in any of these countries that her, like, the names on the passport were not real people. There was no trail, I guess.
But to counter that, do spies not get given a counter personality that has a full background
Yeah,
for them to fall under? So if she were given another name, would that name not have a job and a birth location and a passport and a birth certificate and all of these things that she was missing to, like, give her a false identity of being someone completely non-suspicious?
Yeah, they did interview on the podcast from BBC and NRK. They did interview a former KGB agent that had the exact same point that you had. He was like, if she was a KGB agent, which she wouldn't have been, because of the fact that they get given a person who has died that already has a history and a birth name and a job, that kind of stuff. And she wouldn't have had 8 different passports because that's not what they did in the KGB.
Yeah, it seems strange and I mean, I've got no knowledge of the spy networks and how they actually run, but it seems a bit strange that she would be given 8 different identities that just stop with the name. That doesn't seem to hold up under any kind of script. That's almost
Scrutiny,
bit suspicious as just sticking to your original name.
It definitely is, and that was his point as well. And he said she is definitely not a KGB agent, because if she was, they would have given her one name and one birthplace and one history, like one job, you know.
Yeah, easier to remember.
Yeah.
Under questioning or torture or whatever.
Yeah, but he also said that what it looks like is that she might have been a courier, which means that she might have taken information from one place to another or from one person to another, because she moved around in Norway a lot, for example. And he said that, but if she was a courier, which she could have been, she wasn't a KGB agent courier. she was some other secret agent courier. And that brings
I
us...
don't think she'd be MI6 either.
No,
Or
probably
MI5,
not.
whichever one deals with non-UK affairs. Fun fact for you, one of them deals with internal affairs, one of them deals with international affairs. That's the difference.
Is that the difference? Is MI5 internal and MI6?
I can't remember which way it is, but one of them deals with spy affairs based in the UK or Great Britain, and the other one deals with international, obviously still working for the UK.
I think MI5 is national.
I think MI5 is probably, the national, and then 6 is the international.
I think so. But I should say also that the history at the time in the 1970s was that they were involved in the Cold War. So Norway is not a part of EU, but is a part of NATO. So they're aligned with America, and they were as well in the 1970s. And the journalist in the podcast that I listened to, she grew up close to one of Norway's largest military bases. So they had a lot of American soldiers come there to... They were sent to Norway to train in Arctic environments because of the cold. It's fucking cold and it rains all the time. It's
Kaltkrieg.
It's fucking pretty though. It's so fucking pretty, but it rains all the time and it gets really cold.
Kaltkrieg.
So at the time, they were testing the Penguin missiles in Norway, which was a new kind of weapon. And she was spotted several times. This is in air quotes because obviously we don't trust eyewitness statements that much, I guess. But she was spotted by a fisherman that lived and worked very close to where the missile tests were conducted. He claimed that he saw her at the time and several times when those missiles were tested. And he said that he saw her talking to a Norwegian naval officer at the time. So he was obviously connected to the testing. And because they were afraid of Russian invasion at the time, probably still are, if my parents are anything to go by, he called the police and said that this woman that is noticeably not Norwegian, because every eyewitness that saw her said that she's not Norwegian, they could tell because there wasn't a lot of tourism in Norway and she dressed very upscale way, which they didn't in Norway. They were mostly in, outdoors.
Galoshes.
Yeah. And also because it rains so much, probably wellies, all the time and stuff like that.
Don't need wellies if you're wearing galoshes.
Noticeably not Norwegian. She had a tan.
She had a tan, therefore she can't be Norwegian.
Probably quite accurate, but I was still talking about the fisherman. He said that she had spoken to a naval officer, a Norwegian naval officer. So he called the police because he was scared of Russia and was like, yeah, this woman keeps popping up during these Penguin missile tests, and I'm not sure if she's a Russian spy or not. And that report is on record with the Norwegian Secret Service, but the interview itself is deleted, so it can't be found.
Classified.
Yeah, or it doesn't exist because they did release the reports after X amount of years, but the report itself is on record, but the actual interview with him, which is also on record that they did an interview with him, is also deleted. So the tapes is nowhere to be found. And the fisherman's son that they interviewed in the podcast says that his father was approached by the Norwegian Secret Service, given a gun, and they told him to fuck off to England. I'm not sure if that's actually true, because it's his son that is saying that. They were like, they gave him a gun, said like, use this to protect yourself, and then fuck off, please.
Doesn't sound like something that any kind of security service would do.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But also on the live episode of that podcast, they interviewed like the police, one of the higher ups in the Norwegian police force, and they were like, could this be a hit by the Norwegian Secret Service? He was like, no way, because if they had murdered her, her body would not have been found.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I was like, wow.
Confident in his team. I like it.
No, he was like, no way. Because if they had murdered her...
Yeah, he's confident that his team would have done a good enough job to have properly covered it up.
No, the Norwegian Secret Service is not the Norwegian police. It's two separate things.
Yeah, but what he's saying is, if it were the Secret Service in Norway, they would have done a good enough job to not leave any evidence.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He was
Which
like, no way.
I like.
Especially,
I think that's commendable.
He was like, especially not in Norway. They wouldn't have left the body in Norway. No way.
No, take her to Finland. Let the potato breathers deal with her.
You know, Finland is actually like the happiest and most successful country in all of Europe.
Yeah, because they're always drunk. They also have the highest rate of alcohol consumption in all of Europe.
No, Denmark.
Put those two together.
Denmark consumes
it's the same place.
In Finland, they have socialism.
Maybe you'll cut the potato breathing part. Don't want to offend our Scandi listener base.
They're doing very well, obviously, because Norway...
Yeah, Finland is the best country in the world. I love them.
No,
Go Finland. Hyviota. That's good night. Good night. Bye.
Isapete is do not cover. It says that on all of our radiators in Sweden.
In Finnish.
Yeah, Isapete.
Why in Finnish?
I don't know. Maybe they're manufactured in Finland. I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's why they're so happy. They're so warm.
Well, at least we do isolate our buildings. Wink,
Do you mean insulate?
Yeah, insulate.
At least we isolate our buildings. You, building, step away.
We don't have any neighbors. That's why we're...
Put the weapon down, building. You're going to the gulag.
Yeah, like the closest neighbor is like 40 miles away.
Oh, I'm moving to fucking Finland. Sounds amazing.
No, but like...
Socialism, radiators, no neighbors. No wonder they're so fucking happy.
No, but like Norway is so prosperous.
So pretty.
So prosperous because they have oil and they
Yeah,
have socialism.
so Saudi Arabia. Oh, wait.
Yeah, that's the difference.
And then you said socialism.
True story, bruh. Okay. So, Ketil Kvesoy, probably pronounced another way, which I should know.
Mm-hmm.
Ketil Kvesoy. Try it, man. A Norwegian man who'd been out for a hike in the 1970s claims that he met the Isdal woman on his way back to Bergen, which is one, he said that it was on a Sunday, and her body was found on a Sunday, so it couldn't have been on the same day. He said that it was in an afternoon, and the body was found in the morning. So he would have known that he couldn't have seen her on the same day that her body was found.
Could it not have been a different Sunday?
That's the thing. It could have been the Sunday before, but she was last spotted checking out of the hotel on a Monday. Or it could have been several Sundays before, I'm not sure. But that kind of leads me into believing his statement because it doesn't fit in the timeline of the crime. If you get
Your statement makes no sense. I believe you.
Well, I kind of feel like it does lean to more plausible.
So when was she found?
She was found on a Sunday morning.
Like when?
On the 29th of November, 1970.
Okay, because in her diary, she was in Bergen on the 24th of March, and then she was in Stavanger on the 29th of October, and then also the 9th until the 18th of November. So it's perfectly possible that he's seen her in between when she was in Stavanger and when she was back in Bergen to die.
Yeah, or it kind of feels like it could have been her, but it lends more towards his witness statement because he hasn't corrected the dates. Does that make sense to you?
No.
But he could have not remembered, I don't know. But also, he said that it's a hike that people don't do.
Which also then begs the question of how a bloke and his two daughters found her in the first place.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But
why the fuck are they going rambling on this impossible hike in the middle of Death Valley?
it isn't actually impossible. I understand what
No,
you're saying.
but like all of these sources have said that it's a really difficult hike.
Yeah.
It's called Ice Valley. It's in the middle of nowhere. Why would you pick this location as a family hike?
I understand what you mean, but like as a Scandinavian myself, I know that Norwegians hike all the time.
Why does this place have such a bad reputation?
I think they've hyperbolized. What did you say?
Hyperbolized.
Hyperbolized. I can't.
Just like I just enjoyed the throwback.
Yeah. Hyperbolized the actual danger of this hike. It's not like you're going to be eaten by a panther, you know?
No, I understand that it's a physically difficult hike.
Yeah, so because of the fact that she wasn't dressed for a hike or had hiking equipment with her, people find it suspicious.
That's what made it suspicious. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Because like Norwegians hike as not only a hobby, it's a way of life. Like all Norwegians have like summer houses in the mountains, and then
obviously you have to traverse a mountain just to get to the local shop.
I can't 100% understand it because I'm Swedish, but my grandparents in the north of Sweden used to walk for weeks. Like they would go in the middle of nowhere for weeks for pleasure. You know, it's not actually comparable.
Sounds like Sweden doesn't have the same rate of happiness as Finland does.
As Denmark does. Denmark is the happiest place.
No, Finland's the happiest place. Denmark's the highest drinking place.
I think Denmark is the highest drinking.
No,
And
yeah,
the happiest.
no, Finland is the happiest place.
Finland has the most.
Finland is the happiest place.
They're very good at school
Trademark.
in Europe. They're very
Copyright.
good at school. What I'm trying to say is that it's a difficult hike if you're not from there. So he claims, as I said, that he met the Isdal woman on his way back to Bergen. He said that it rubbed him the wrong way because she seemed distressed and or resigned. He said that she seemed really sad.
Obviously wasn't Finnish.
Also said that she was noticeably not Norwegian because, one, she was dressed as a very fancy lady, which is not what you would dress like on a hike. Never. And especially with the weather in Norway, it always rains and it's very cold. Very, very cold. He also says that she first tried to say something to him, but then changed her mind after glancing behind her. And 20 meters behind her, there were two men, also noticeably not Norwegian, which means tanned and not dressed for a stroll in the woods, which was like, this was way out of Bergen. Like, they were not close to the city. They couldn't have driven there. Yeah, that's kind of what I have. I have a couple of notes about popular series, but I guess that maybe, do you have something about the autopsy?
Nope.
Nope. Fair enough. Okay, popular.
You covered it at the beginning. They found her pills and she breathed in carbon monoxide.
Yeah. Popular theories include that the Isdal woman was hunting for Nazi war criminals.
I
You think
I didn't come across that one.
no, it's
I like that one.
It's a good one, and it's also because they think she might have been Mossad,
Yeah.
Israeli Secret Service, because of the fact that Norway had a very good relationship with Israel at the time. During the years around her death, like before and after, the Mossad were searching for Nazi war criminals. They also think that maybe she was a Jewish child that was born in Germany before the World War II and then moved to another place, maybe the German-French border, maybe France, maybe after that the UK. They're not sure, which I think that it does speak to what kind of people Secret Service were employing. Like, the best spies do not have familiar relationships. People that you can easily erase from history, like from birth certificates, from stuff like that. People who don't have family, more or less. Like, it was a common theme that they would recruit spies that didn't have family. And they also found, well, there was a big scandal like 3 years after she died about Norway media finding KGB agents in Norway who were Norwegian KGB agents, and also that people had been killed by the Mossad in Norway. So maybe, I don't know, but it's a very nice, like, it's a very good storyline that she might have been hunting Nazi war criminals. I don't know. It feels like a book, you know?
Any other good theories?
Yeah.
I've got a theory.
Yeah? Tell me.
All right. So, I think she was of Jewish heritage. supported by facts? Possibly.
Possibly.
So, well, they don't know if she was Jewish.
No, they don't know.
Growing up in Nazi Germany, I think when it all started to get serious, she was moved to a different family out by the French-German border.
Mm-hmm.
They abused her either emotionally or physically. We don't know. Hyperbole. She then repressed this period of her life, which explains why on all of her passports and the hotel registrations, she was giving her date of birth as 10 to 15 years after they dated her.
Why would she have that many passports then?
Wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
So because she was abused in the nature that she was abused, she developed some kind of psychiatric illness, like a psychosis or split personality or whatever. And this made her think that she was being pursued by people. So she traversed all of Scandinavia and Europe and blah, blah, blah to try and escape these fictional people that were chasing her, and recorded herself under false names and switched hotel rooms and all of this, that, and the other to try and escape from them. And it got to the point where she was so psychologically stressed that she decided the only way to avoid this was to kill herself. But she needed to make sure that she wasn't found, because then the people that were following her would be able to do X, Y, and Z to her body. So she identified a nice remote location, decided to take the pills to numb the pain of burning her face so that she couldn't be identified, which also would explain all of the labels being cut off of her clothes and all of her prescription medication and things like that being erased, and all of her personal belongings being left in a train station while she disappeared off into the mountains to remove herself from history.
You think that the mental health story is the most plausible one?
Yep.
Interesting.
I don't think she was a spy for the simple fact that I don't think any nation would have such an easy way to discredit an identity. I don't think any kind of international spy organization would create an identity that was just a name.
Some people on the internet said that the names, some of her aliases was very interchangeable. So some of her names are some of her other names if you just add some lines to it.
Which would explain that she was doing it herself rather than them being assigned identities to her.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It might have been mental health issues, but I just think that burning yourself is such a bad idea. She could have just waited for the pills to take.
No, but she needed to remove her complete identity. So when they found her, they found that only the front of her body was burned and the back was completely untouched.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make sense in that she was only trying to eradicate her face and her fingerprints and anything like that. Whereas if she were being burned to remove all evidence, then whoever was doing it to her would have done it to a degree where her entire body was burnt.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You think that the Secret Service of whatever country she might have been affiliated with would have done a better job.
Yeah, I think if you're going to burn somebody to get rid of a body, you do it so that they are burnt down to the bones.
One of the most famous Norwegian spy hunters in their history, or like recorded history through a Cold War and stuff like that, says that it was an accident. he was like, maybe she tried to kill herself with the pills and then her hairspray can rolled into the fire and exploded in her face, and then she might have like fallen.
Wasn't that discredited by there being no evidence of an explosion?
Well, it wasn't that. It was discredited by the fact that there was no evidence of a hairspray can. Like, he was like...
That, and if you throw a can of hairspray or anything with an aerosol in it into a fire, it explodes. So you'd get burned debris scattered everywhere, and it wasn't. It was entirely localized to the front of her body.
Yeah. And he said that maybe she fell off the ledge and then hit her neck on the way down, because he thinks, or he says that he thinks that it's an accident, that she tried to kill herself and then burnt herself by accident. But I'm not...
It's possible that she burnt herself by accident if she had a campfire. No, but then it's not. I was going to say if she had like a campfire, took the pills, got drowsy, fell over, but she was found face up. So that discredits that theory as well.
No, that's what he thinks, that she had a campfire, her hairspray can rolled into the fire, exploded in her face, and then she fell off the ledge of the mountain.
There's not enough flammable material in just an exploded hairspray canister to cause the full frontal burning that was caused on her. She would have had to like have doused herself in hairspray or petrol or whatever for that explosion to decimate the front of her body in the way that it was.
Yeah, that's what I think too, because her front of her legs, her kneecaps, everything was like burnt. On the front of her body was like super burnt. I don't believe that theory, because where would she get the money from? She was recorded to have traveled all over Europe, staying in different hotels, paid in cash. She was
Well, we don't know anything about her, so she could have had a rich family.
Yeah, but she was recorded having meetings with men that nobody knows who they are. Not the eyewitness statement on the trail singularly, but others as well. Like in the hotels that she stayed at, in the rooms that she stayed at, the maids and the waitresses saw her having, air quotes, meetings with other men. So, like, if she was just running all over Europe, why would she meet other men? You know?
To ask for protection.
I'm not sure.
No one's sure. That's why it's a mystery. I still think it's the psychosis.
This is actually super interesting. Do you actually think that it was a psychosis?
Yeah. To me, that's what makes the most sense.
What?
I can't get over the idea that any kind of spy agency would give her such terrible identities. If a former KGB officer who was active during the Cold War is giving a statement to say that there's no way she was a spy because the nature of her identities are inscrutable, there's no way she was a spy.
He said that she could have been a courier. Like, she could have been a person who had information and then traveled to give information to another person. He said that. He was like, that's entirely plausible. She could, because she probably wasn't a spy, because if she was a spy, they would have planted her in the area that the Penguin missiles were active in, the testing was active in, for however long it took. He was like, because she would have had to made friends and shit. But if she was a courier just giving information from one person and another, that would make sense, because it doesn't require you to have a traceable identity.
I still think she was mental.
We're all mental. What else is new? I don't feel like it's beyond the possibility that she killed herself. But if she killed herself, I think it was because of depression and not because of a psychotic break. If she killed herself, I think it was because she maybe felt lonely. If she didn't have any family, which would point to the fact that she has never been identified, like nobody has ever come forward with information about her identity. I feel like maybe that could have driven her to suicide, but I don't think it was a psychotic break. And if it wasn't a psychotic break, her notes and her steps to become anonymous points to the fact that she was actually acting for someone else and not for herself. Like, if she had a psychotic break, she would just run out into the woods years earlier. She did not have a psychotic break for years. That's not how it works.
And giving a spy an identity that's just their name isn't how it works.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
We have reached an impasse.
I need to pee. Good Lord. You want to say bye to the listeners? Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Midweek Murders. We'll see you next week.
Don't forget to give Joe a special shout out.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe, for listening. Happy birthday. It's your special day.
Amazing.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye forever. Well.